Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of the Sabrina Zohar Show. My name is Sabrina Zohar, and I am your host. Yay, we're here for another week. I'm so excited to have you guys back. Happy summer. We're in the midst of it all. It's getting hot as shit, but I'm so here for it. As a Florida girl, I love it. And yay. Okay, babes, this week we have a special guest here. We have Victoria Garrick Browne. I'm so excited to have her. She is such an amazing, amazing woman, and she's a mental health advocate. And I was on her podcast, The Real Pod, a couple of weeks ago, or maybe about a month ago at this time. I'm just so excited. And we talk kind of like all things mental health and her journey of being like a high-performing athlete and the anxiety that's associated with that. You know, I think we think it just comes out in dating and it manifests in that way. And like she had her own experiences with anxiety and forming a relationship and how to communicate that with your partner and things like that. So I'm excited. I'm going to start to like mix it up a little bit and I want to have some guests on here where we could talk about more than just like the same four topics of like, it's a situationship and ghosting. It's like, let's evolve and have some fun together in the content. So I'm excited. Let me know. You could DM if you have any episode like ideas, if you have any guests, like let me know if there's ever anything. Obviously, you know, for everybody to enjoy and not just super specific. But I'm excited, guys. You know, the Sabrina Zohar Show, it's new, it's here, it's fresh, and it's still the same show. We're just going to have more fun. Yay. And guys, don't forget, please, please, please don't forget to rate the show. Leave a 5-star review wherever you think if it's worth it. And if you don't, that's okay. Just please, we ask for kind language in the way that you describe whatever your grievances are. Yeah, the internet's a weird place these days, but hey, all right, like everybody's allowed to have an opinion just like an asshole. So not that they are an asshole, but you know what I mean. But guys, please don't forget, leave a 5-star review. If you guys want more, there's the bonus content. You can subscribe. You get 2 bonus episodes a month where you guys get to choose one of them and you guys get to write in the Ask Me Anything for Me and Tech Guy. And I think we're going to start doing call-ins. So stay tuned, babes. But for now, just the Ask Me Anythings and the bonus content and the ad-free listening on every single episode ever made from here on out and in the past. Guys, follow along on YouTube, Sabrina_Zohar. Follow along on the Instagram, The Sabrina Zohar Show, and Sabrina.Zohar. Pretty much obnoxiously my name anywhere that you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube. And thank you guys again for everything. If you need the course, that's available. It's out next week. We have a very special course coming out with Britt Frank, and I'm so excited by the time you guys listen to this, or the next week, so it'll be out and moving on. But it's a breakup course, and it's here to help. But for now, we have the foundation course. It's here if you need it. None of these have to be bought together. They can all be enjoyed separately or together, whatever you guys need. We are trying to support you guys where you're at and do whatever we can to meet you where you are so that you guys invest in yourselves as well and have something that you can tangibly come back to and utilize and that actually works, you know, based on neuroscience and all that fun shit. So guys, again, thank you for everything. Love you to the moon and back. And without further ado, let's get right on into it, shall we? Hello, Victoria. Welcome to the Sabrina Zohar Show. I am so excited to have you.
I'm so excited to be here. We just hit it off when you came on Real Pod. I couldn't wait for our part 2. I just love talking to you.
Me too. And I'm so excited because on Real Pod, so if anybody's listening has not listened, you need to go listen. We talked a lot about like the dating and the courtship and stuff. And now we get to talk about you, which is what I'm excited about. And not just to hear more about you, but also like the journey that you went through and the experience that you've had. Because I don't know about you, girl, but like I've learned having this podcast, like that's, I think, truly what helps us kind of heal and come together is understanding that we're not alone and that other people have gone through experiences. So I'm so excited. But for anybody who doesn't know who you are or anything, could you please just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you in your own words?
First of all, it's an honor to be here. I am so excited to be on your show. So thanks for having me. And I feel like the reason I love it so much is it's so important for people to be working on themselves and trying to grow and develop more self-awareness and just become like our highest potential functioning type of human being. And we don't see enough of that. It's like there's a lot of humor out there and there's a lot of, like they call it brain rot these days, and it's fun and there's a time and place for it. Like, don't get me wrong, I love watching Love Island because that's just what I need sometimes. But also, I think it's important, like if we're going to be consuming content, can we consume content that's actually going to make an impact on our lives and who we are in our relationships? So I love what you do. And a little bit about me for anyone who's not familiar with my work or what I do. So my name is Victoria and I am, oh my gosh, I'm a full-time content creator. I have my own podcast called Real Pod. I'm a former college athlete. I'm a founder of a nonprofit, The Hidden Opponent. And I'd say how I got started in this business and with the work I do now was because I was an athlete my whole life and I played Division I volleyball at USC. So fight on if there's any Trojans out there. And while it was an incredible experience and I wouldn't change it for the world, it was also really intense and it was a high pressure environment and there was a lot on my shoulders and it was difficult for me. And it was, the first time in my life and the hardest time in my life that I struggled with my own mental health, and that manifested in performance anxiety, depression. I struggled with an eating disorder, and it was in going through that my eyes were open to this issue amongst athletes everywhere that wasn't really talked about, because athletes are looked at as, these strong competitors, don't show weakness, don't cry, push, keep going. We have the Olympics coming up, right? You're looking at a type of person who was just never taught to accept that they could struggle or they could show any weakness. So, once I realized that there was this big issue and I was actually now in my life someone who was suffering in the middle of that, it's what really led me to want to speak up about what I had gone through, about my own story. And I honestly was just at a place where I kind of was so depressed. I was like, nothing matters right now other than like being seen. And I never thought I'm going to build this brand. I'm going to keep speaking. I'm going to found this nonprofit. I literally was just at a place in my life where everything seemed so meaningless except talking about the big, scary, dark questions in life. And I started by giving a TEDx talk at school and, one thing led to another, snowball effect. And I'm so grateful to be here. It was like sort of following my heart and my passion. And since then, I've been able to evolve it into a variety of different things. And I'd say the premise of everything is realness and authenticity. The TEDx talk was really vulnerable. It was the most vulnerable thing I'd ever done in my life up until that point. And I carried that with me on social media. I said, I'm not going to Photoshop, use Facetune. I'm not going to filter. I don't even swipe right for Paris. So if you're on my accounts, you're not even going to see the Paris filter, because that is how adamant I am about trying to portray authenticity and realness online. And so my podcast, Real Pod, is all about that, and interviewing people and hearing about their real stories and their real struggles.
Oh, dude, I'm so excited to have you on because you're a breath of fresh air. Like, this is what we need. It's so funny. Did you see the new documentary Sprint?
No. What is it?
It's on Netflix. So it's about I think, like the sprinters. Okay, let me preface for anybody listening. I apologize in advance for the way I talk about sports and athletes and athleticism. I am a turd if you put me out on the street. Like, I am not somebody that should ever be active except for like lifting a weight and putting it back down. So I'm going to apologize in advance for all of the botching that's going to happen with the way I talk about being an athlete. But they were the pre-qualifiers, like the champions before the Olympics. So it followed the journey of like, I think 5 or 10 of these Olympic sprinters that are about to go and advance into the Olympics.
Oh my gosh, I need to watch this.
Oh, it was so interesting because of, especially for me, like not having a connection to the world of sports. But what I loved about it was not, oh yeah, look how fast everybody is. Look how amazing they are. It's like, cool. That was nice to have. What I loved was the emphasis that they put on their mental health, to see like one of these girls who, we look at it as like you said, these athletes are put on this pedestal of like, oh, Kobe's of the world and the LeBrons, like, oh, these people are like gods and they don't feel. But what we also don't see is like the ridicule, the backlash, the trolling, like the negativity that they get on top of being an athlete. I would imagine as a child, you have a lot of pressure around you of like performing and doing well. And that's where that perfectionism and like working hard goes. And it was actually really lovely to see them be humans and to say like, yeah, this really hurts me. And when someone says this, I feel this, because I just don't think it's like normalized enough. And I was curious, like, when did you know? Because obviously you're young, right? You're in college. So all of this is new. When did you know, like, hey, I think there's something going on, like something isn't right? Or like, was that, like, what was your journey to realizing like, fuck, I think I need to do something about my mental health?
Well, when you don't pay attention to the mental health conversation because you think you're invincible. I mean, I definitely was like, oh, I am a high performer. I'm a perfectionist. I'm a leader. I'm just like, I'm that girl. So why would I listen at assembly in high school when they're talking about social anxiety or depression because I didn't associate with that being something I could be because of the stigma of mental health, which says this is weakness. This isn't something you want to have. So as someone who's wanting to be, quote, successful, whatever that means, I didn't even want to entertain the fact that I could be in that sort of position. I was looking at it completely wrong. And so, I say that all to say it was really hard for me to detect. I wasn't like, oh, this is performance anxiety. Like I can't sleep at night. My hands are shaking and I'm on the verge of tears before playing a game on a team I've always dreamed of playing on, and I don't want to do it. I told myself, oh my gosh, you maybe aren't good enough to be on this team. If you tell anyone you feel this way, they're not going to trust you. Your coach isn't going to play you. Like I just gaslit the shit out of myself, and I would pull any sports quote, any motivational video to tell myself like bury it, suppress it, like toughen up, get out there. Like this is what you have to push through. If you can ignore this, if you cannot let this get you, then that's what it takes to be great. That's what I had thought. So it was hard for me to detect at first. Eventually, I had struggled with that kind of back and forth and that performance anxiety throughout my freshman season and summer, that when I came back for my second year of college, I was just depressed. I was so low. I was numb. I just kind of had so much feeling and jitteriness and high functioning anxiety that now I was just like, I don't feel a thing. And in that state, I was just not myself, not social, not wanting to go anywhere. It was spring break. My friends went to Cabo. I went home to my parents' couch to cry and sleep. Like I just wasn't myself. And in that state, it was like opening up to a teammate, and she said she saw a counselor, and I was like, okay, like I guess if you go, I can go. And then that was hard, walking into the therapy lounge waiting room and checking on a scale of 1 to 5, have you had this, that? And it's like, oh my God, I'm hovering over my body. Like I am that person in a movie who's lost it, because of the stigma of mental health. That's what I was telling myself. So it was gradual. It was just this gradual breaking down of my spirit and my joy and just the nature of who I was as a person, which led me to then seek help. And then I do feel inclined to add this part because I've been kind of really vocal about the anti-stigma for mental health. But in going to therapy, I of course learned that it is harder and it takes more strength to own up to something you're struggling with, to talk about that with another person, to have the courage to want to work on that and be different. My mindset totally did a 180, and I thought, oh my gosh, working on your mental health, talking about this, fighting for this is actually the strongest, bravest, most admirable thing a person can do. So that's what then kind of gave me the fire to go and advocate for mental health issues.
Oh, God, I fucking love that. And I think what I love about your story as well is like anybody listening, it doesn't mean that you have to be in college working, being an athlete to feel what you're feeling. I think, if we even look back at the last 10 years, mental health has become so normalized in the best way possible. But like anything, the pendulum swings, right? We have all of this amazing conversation around, like even my mom, she's like, oh my God, I would have killed to have anybody tell me what a narcissist was when I was married to your father. She's like, no one spoke about this, which with also comes like the pendulum swings, right? It's like with the good also comes the, oh, we've overused it. But nonetheless, so fucking excited that people are talking about it and seeing this. And now, is this something that like while you were going through this, were you ever like, did you ever talk to your family members about this? Like, how did that impact? Because we'll get to Max and your relationship in a minute, but really just for you and your family, like how were you able to get through this? Did you have that as a support system, or were you really just like struggling internally alone?
I definitely had my parents as a support system. I love them so much, and they were always there for me, and I'm so grateful for that and for the relationship I still have with them today. I do think it was just hard for them to really understand because as a parent, they're like, wait, you're playing Division I volleyball. Like, this is everything you've ever wanted. Like, we've watched you work hard at sports since you could first walk, right? So I think for them, they were just confused. Like, on paper, this is everything you ever wanted. And it was, but once you are at quote cloud 9, like it takes a lot to stay there and to maintain that. And so, of course I was open with them. I don't think they they knew what they could based on just like when they would see me. And, my mom has memories of, I came to visit you and you were just, you broke down crying and then you just were sleeping the whole weekend and we didn't do anything. We had plans to do. Like my mom, I remember, looked at me on this one trip and it was like I was pale and I was breaking out just because I was so depressed and stressed. And she was just like, I remember she said something like, I'm going to walk into the coach's room right now and you're off the team. You are coming home. And I was like, no, you can't. I need to stay, So they did the best they could, but they didn't, I was away at college.
This episode is brought to you by 8 Sleep. Guys, if you haven't heard of 8 Sleep, I am so excited to share with you about the 8 Sleep Pod. So this is their buzzworthy sleep technology called the Pod, and it can be added to your existing mattress like a fitted sheet. Hear this, to automatically cool down or warm up each side of your bed and in turn improve your sleep quality dramatically. I am obsessed with my Pod. When I say I'm obsessed, words cannot describe. I love getting into bed cozy. So I have mine on a +1, so it's nice and warm when I go into bed. And Tech Guy has his on -6 because he needed to be Arctic because he runs way warmer than I do. And the beauty is it doesn't impact either one of us. So we can have the temperature when he's out of town or we're not sleeping in the same room. I can then take up the whole bed in my temperature, or I can just have my half, which is so lovely, especially if you have a specific sleeping requirement, especially at your temperature. This way you can share the bed with somebody or not and still get the sleep that you need. And then in the middle of the night, mine goes down to -2. It makes me nice and cool. And then it goes back up to +1 in the morning. So I wake up cozy. And what I love even more is the Pod 4 Ultra. You don't need to wear your wearables anymore. So it's integrated and has sensors that track your sleep phases, HRV, and heart rate with 99% tracking accuracy. Guys, I am so obsessed with my 8 Sleep. I words cannot describe, and I really hope that you guys will give it a try. So if you guys go to 8sleep.com/DTW and use the code DTW, you get $350 off your Pod 4 Ultra. Currently shipping to the US, Canada, UK, Europe, and Australia. Again, that's 8sleep.com/DTW and use the code DTW to get $350 off your Pod 4 Ultra. And now you guys can see why celebrities and entrepreneurs like Andrew Huberman, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and more are so obsessed with their 8 Sleep. This might be a loaded question, but I am curious. After, because hindsight's so 2020. After, once you started to really understand your mental health and involve, was it one, did you lose the passion and love you had for volleyball? And then second of all, did you ever even have the passion and love, or do you think it was fueled by something else? I'm just curious to hear that experience on your end.
It's a great question. I totally had the passion and love. I love sports and specifically volleyball so much. What I think it was I was an 18-year-old who didn't have the coping skills, the tools in place, the vocabulary, the awareness to recognize when I was struggling and what I needed on the other side of that. I always think and joke now, put me in. I would love to go back into my 18-year-old self, play on that team, in that environment, and I know I could do it because I know how to protect my mental health. I know how to do my mindset exercises. I know how to catch myself when I'm spiraling and creating a story that doesn't actually exist. I've learned so much that, now I could do it, but you're just young, you're a kid, you don't have the tools, you don't know. And unless you literally have people grabbing your shoulders and saying, it's okay not to be okay. And if you're not okay, here's what we can do to help you. It's very hard to connect those dots. So I think it was just, I was constantly playing catch up, but I will say, I learned so much. I had an awakening. I had an experience that while it was really difficult for me, led me to be here today. I think when we're in those times in life where we're struggling and we don't understand and we're really suffering, we're also awakening at the same time. So I would never want to go back and have everything be picture perfect and have someone grab me my freshman year and say, here are all the answers to your problems, because that's not life and that's not how we get better and we grow. So even now when I'm in tough situations in life and I'm struggling with my mental health or I'm feeling funky, I'm like, okay, we're on the brink of change or growth or transformation.
I love that. And I'm so glad you brought that up because I think it's so refreshing to have, I try to spin it of these bad moments. Hindsight is so 2020. Like you said, it's that famous saying, youth is wasted on the young. Oh my goodness, if I could go back to 20-year-old me and be like, bitch, sit down, let's have a talk. I wish more than anything that I could recapture a little bit of that time and maybe. But to your point, that situation, like we are a sum of all of our parts, right? And so like wherever we're at now, it's a cumulative effect of all the things that have happened prior to create this version of us. And kind of similar to your story, like it's the same thing when I got, by now everybody knows about it on the show, like when I got that fucking cease and desist. In that moment, your life crumbles. Like talk about a tiger, like I thought everything was over. But then I knew in that pain and in those moments, wait a minute, in the past, like I literally have to stop myself and be like, in the past, when you've had really bad things happen to you, like when your ex has broken up with you, when you've been left on the floor, when my dog died, when my company was sent home from Shark Tank, when all of those quote unquote like terrible bad things happened, we kind of see this as like, that's it, I'm done, I can't do this anymore. We kind of lose hope and oh my God, what else can I take? And for me, it's taken a practice, kind of cue to what you said earlier, but like it's taken a practice to now see it as, wait a minute, how can I level up? Right? Like that window of tolerance to me, I'm like, great, we're making it larger because if I can handle getting a really scary letter from a lawyer that's threatening my business and make it through, figure it out, come out the other side, wow, look at the confidence that we've just built within ourselves and look at the story that we get to add to kind of like our cloth.
Right. One of my favorite, I love that so much. One of my favorite quotes from a book I read called A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, which I feel like your community and you would just, like eat up and love so much. I'm literally so obsessed with that book. I did a book club podcast on it called So Much to Say with my best friend. But one of my favorite parts was he said something to the effect of, how do you know this is the experience you're supposed to be having because it's the one you're having at this moment? Basically, just like whatever's happening in your life is what you're supposed to be experiencing. And who knows, like, you could look back and this could be actually the best thing that happened to your business that opened up the name and there's no limit and now it's based on you and who knows, like, so I just think we have to believe that we can get something from everything. I don't believe that everything happens for a reason, but I do believe you get something from everything.
I'm glad you made that clarification because I'm with you. When people are like, oh, well, it all happens for a reason. You're like, sometimes there really isn't, right? Like sometimes there really isn't a reason that like that person has a shitty fucking life and lives in poverty while other people are born with a silver spoon. But what we can look at it as like, it's such an empowering way to look at this as like, okay, what's next, right? Like what else you got for me? Of like, I'm not asking for more. Don't get me wrong, universe. Like we're good. But like my one friend always says, she's like, let it burn. Like, it's okay. Don't be so scared to hold on to something because when we let it burn, like you said, look at the life that you've created when you let the life that you thought you were going to have burn down. And that's the same with breakups, with dealing with heartbreak. Like I know, which I want to talk about Max, for a lot of people listening, we've dealt with heartbreak after heartbreak or disappointment after disappointment. And after a while, you just start to wonder like, when the fuck is this going to like let up?
Have you heard The Prophecy by Taylor Swift? I feel like it's off of, it's okay if you're not a Swiftie. It's off the new album, Tortured Poets Department. It's called Prophecy. And it's literally a song about like, when you just keep getting fucked over by men and you're like, who do I have to speak to change the prophecy to write in that I will meet my soulmate? Because I'm like, literally, she's like, I'm begging you, I'm on my knees. Who do I speak to? So I just made me think of that song. I'm a Swiftie.
Which is, and not to mention too, like, well, and look at her to be the perfect example. It's like she went through shitty situation and it's like, and look who she landed. I'm like, you know what? It would all be worth it to have what she has. And it's like, we have to look at it. Otherwise, it's like, listen, you don't have to look at it that way. You could fucking drive yourself insane and just go into a spiral if you want. But we also get to choose the way that we see things. We get to choose what side of the coin that we're going to be accepting. And so to me, and I was curious actually, because you mentioned earlier your mindset. You said I do my mindset exercises or activities. Can you share a little bit more of like, I love to learn what people have learned along the way that's helped them? Like, what are tools that you implement that you actually find have been beneficial?
I guess first I'll start conceptually. I think what can be really game changing for people is just recognizing that the thoughts in your mind are telling you a story, and it's a story based on the things you've perceived in your life that you've been told, and also a lot of your insecurities. For example, if you're telling yourself, oh my God, and I'll make it relationship based because I know that's the big theme on this pod. If it's, oh my gosh, I ruin every relationship. I'm way too vulnerable at the start. No one's ever going to love me. I'm not meant to be with someone. Maybe I'm meant to be alone. Like, you're spinning a story that's that you're actually taking as fact, which is always shocking. Like we were like, oh, that's the truth. And then if I'm spinning that story, of course I'm going to be down. I'm going to go on that next date and I'm not going to feel confident. And I'm going to feel really pessimistic. And then I'm going to look for one thing that's going to ruin the date and say, yep, I knew it. I knew it. This is always how it goes for me. This is nothing factually has happened other than you've created this story. And someone might be thinking, no, but the other dates didn't work out, so I'm basing it on evidence. But you're creating a lot of judgment and you're adding color to facts. What are the facts? I'm not marrying these people I've been on dates with. There could be a variety of reasons that have nothing to do with who you are as to why those didn't work out. So don't fill in the blanks. When it comes to anxiety, you're always filling the blanks in. Oh, this must have happened because of this. Don't fill in the blanks. Don't make assumptions. You don't know. So instead, can we spin a different story? Those didn't work out for, like, if you're going to tell one, tell a good one. Those didn't work out for a reason. I'm destined for something better. I'm still growing and evolving, and it's all going to work out. And I know that if I keep following my heart and I listen to myself and I show up and I give it my all, that it is going to work out. You know, and someone might be thinking, oh, that's exhausting. I've tried that. I don't want to do that anymore. Okay, then let's stop telling stories. Let's just wake up. Let's take 10 deep breaths. Let's journal 5 things we're grateful for. And let's try to meet every moment where it is and not have any expectations. So that's like high level, like just a lot of work I've done to kind of think about my thought process and how to adjust it. And then as far as like tangible things, you know, I do think, you know, a few things I could list off if you're wanting to improve your mental health this week. Don't bring your phone in your bedroom. Charge it in your office. Charge it in your kitchen. Do not bring your phone in your bedroom. You know, after 6 o'clock at night, can we stop scrolling social media? If you want to watch a show, that's fine. If you want to FaceTime a friend, that's fine. Why are we spending 3 hours every night consuming the very best parts of other people's lives and then turning our phone off in our bed and feeling like absolute shit? Like, don't bring your phone in your bedroom. Another thing is, you know, the morning, it really like sets the tone for your day. And this morning, every other Thursday, I go to therapy, but before therapy, I go to a workout class. So it's like I wake up to my alarm and I don't check social media and I don't check emails. So I'm already deciding like, I'm going to be present. I'm going to be in this moment. I don't need to know what's going on in the world or who needs me. We can deal with that at 9 o'clock, you know? So I'm going to wake up, take a deep breath. I'm going to have my breakfast or my AG1, which I love. I'm going to get in the car. I'm going to listen to music or a meditation. I'm going to do my workout. I'm going to shower. I'm going to go to therapy and talk about myself and what I need. And then I'm going to come home and open my computer and, you know, do the things I need to do. And if you're a mom or you have kids or you start work earlier, you know, there are ways that you can have, maybe it's 5 minutes, even to give yourself 5 minutes. When you wake up in the morning, instead of just springing out of bed, can you lay there and take 5 deep breaths and give yourself affirmations like, I'm doing my best. I deserve joy and happiness. I'm going to listen to my intuition. Can you take 5 minutes to give yourself a moment before you start? So, you know, really seeing like, what is it that I need in my life? What kind of life do I want to have? What's prohibiting me from having that? And what are the changes I can make?
I love that, because what you're doing is you're empowering yourself to make choice, right? Like you're saying, I get to choose. How many times I've woken up in the morning and like you'll get a shitty email or something or a text or something that totally sets you up, but then by the end of the day, it's a great day, or vice versa, right? Yeah. Because that's the beauty of, in these moments, life can change. And one thing that I want to highlight, that what you had said was like, it's okay. Like, I think this is a huge part, at least for my growth, that was really massive for me, was being able to hold two conflicting truths, right? Like, so if you're going out there and you're saying, like, when I was dating, or even like in my career now, like I was up for a TV show. I was supposed to be doing something for Too Hot to Handle. And I was like losing my mind. I was so excited. And then I didn't get it. And I remember just being like, okay, I like, something better is coming, right? And it's like, that's the cognitive, oh, somebody breaks up with you. And it's like, that's the one side of the coin. The other side that we need to also normalize, and I'm hoping that we can, is that you can also feel upset it didn't work out. You're allowed. I think that's that misconception of like, oh, just it's fine, there's better for me, like that toxic positivity that you see it all the fucking time, like I do, of, well, you're not vibing high enough. And it's like, how about we stop shaming people? And instead we're like, hey, you really want, like when I really wanted that fucking show, I went in there guns blazing. I did my Joe Dispenza meditation. I was seeing it. It's the same anytime. and like it didn't work out. You're allowed to be bummed that the guy that you were dating or the girl or the person, the them that you were with did not work out. It's okay to feel bummed. It's okay to say, man, that really sucks. But I can also still hold the other conflicting truth that that's okay. That just wasn't for me. There's better out there for me because I believe in my gut I am actually fucking worth it and deserving of it, as opposed to, well, there we go. That proves all it does when we say I knew it is that proved my core belief that you're right. I wasn't deserving of that.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I'm definitely not a fan of not feeling our emotions or toxic positivity. Like, if you are sad, be sad. I do think, though, if you're sad on day 8, 9, 10, like, okay, what is it helping at this point? It helps in the beginning. You got to feel, you got to let your emotions rise. You got to let them come out because they will find a way out, whether it is tomorrow or 6 years from now or not in a great way. So feel your feelings, be sad. Don't try to fix it. And then when you're ready, can we step into more of a power stance on like, okay, what's my way up from here?
100%. It's like when people say, oh, I'm so hung up on this guy or this girl and, oh, we broke up like a year ago and I can't get over them and I cry all the time. And I'm like, what's the narrative you're telling yourself about this person? Because you're not making them real. You're creating that like them not choosing me means I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, and we're so hung up. It's like, listen, you can be sad that a relationship ends, but I can also be like, cool, but that's just not my person then. Like, I'm not going to hold on to somebody that doesn't want me. This episode is brought to you by Quince. Guys, whenever I am gearing up for my next trip or deciding what to pack, the clothes either don't fit, they're worn out, they don't match, and that's why I love Quince. It is my go-to for high-quality vacation essentials that I'll be packing for all of my upcoming trips. What I love about Quince is they have items like a European linen dress, blouses and shorts from $30, washable silk, luggage, and so much more. We have the sheets. We're literally obsessed. Like, we get upset when they're in the wash and we have to use our backup set because the quality, the linen is just so incredible. And I love it because their tops are like that. Their dresses are so comfortable. Like, I'm obsessed with Quince and everything that they have. And I love it because all Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Again, guys, I can't speak highly enough of Quince. I still wear my scuba crossbody bag. That's my go-to travel bag no matter where I go because it's lightweight and it's just such a nice fabric, but it also looks really premium. So guys, pack your bags with high quality essentials from Quince. Go to quince.com/do-the-work for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Guys, again, that's QUINCE.com/do-the-work to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Guys, again, quince.com/do the work. I'm telling you, you guys will be thanking me later for how many amazing things you're going to get at the amazing price point Quince has. Versus, which brings me kind of into Mrs. Married over here, right? So you are married, you've been married for a minute, but I'd love to hear, okay, so you've been through this entire journey, similar, I can totally relate, but you also formed a relationship at that time. Like, what was that like, meeting Max and having him in your life? I would love to hear, like, what was that early stage for you? Because if I'm not wrong, you friend zoned him.
I
but
did.
really, like, what was that? She says as she blushes. What was that trajectory like while you were going through your mental health stuff and then letting somebody in? Because we have that fallacy of I have to be healed in order to be in a relationship, which is such bullshit. But I'd love to hear your journey of it.
Ooh, I have a good story about that. So remind me about the Prince Charming. We'll call it the Prince Charming effect. That's not real. So I met Max my very first weekend at USC. I was a freshman. I always joke that I don't even know what grade he was because he was like, he came a year, he graduated high school early to play on the football team. Then he redshirted, then he transferred. I mean, who knows? But I think he was 2 grade years older than me. But yeah, we met and I always thought he was funny. I thought he was really cute. I thought he was a great time. Like, I loved being around him. And like, if I went to a party and he was there, like, you know, I always wanted to be around him. I thought he was great energy. But I had a toxic, shitty high school relationship that had ended. So I really wanted my fun freshman year at USC. Like, I wanted to meet boys. I wanted to develop my little roster that the girls were telling me, yeah, get a roster. You have like 5, 6, 7 you could text at one time. I was like, oh, a roster? What is that? You know, it was like so exciting, like accumulating all my little Sims. And then I just, you know, I did friend zone him. He definitely was like, would have wanted to date me way sooner. And then it wasn't until like a year later that summer that I mean, how much of the story do you want?
I mean, I want the show, but question, did he know that did you know, I apologize, did you know that he wanted to date you, or you were oblivious for the whole time, not knowing?
No, I knew. Like, I mean,
okay.
Come on. When you walk in somewhere and they run right up to you, what do you want? Can I get you something? Oh, they text you, it's so great to see you. Like, they do everything they're supposed to do, but it's almost like, no, it's too good. Like, I was in a place where you want like the guy that treats you like shit and you don't know if they like you or not, right? Like, Max was always husband material. So it was too perfect. And I didn't want that yet. I wanted my heart broken by some other boys, why? But we need that. We need that to then be ready to receive the true love and the healthy relationship. So long story short, a year later, I realized lights go off. Oh my gosh, Max Browne, like, he's amazing. What have I been doing? Oh my God, what if he doesn't like me anymore? So then I kind of had to like pursue him and like flirt and get him to know like, hey, I'm interested again. Because I don't think he would have like asked me out because I had kind of, rejected him a few times. So I kind of initiated that new hangout a year later. And then it was like from that moment on, we kissed that night, and it was just the whole butterflies, fireworks, everything. And then we've been together ever since that night. And it's been 8 years. So as far as it goes with my mental health, I would say like Max was this amazing outlet in the beginning. Like I almost used to say to him, I don't think you understand how depressed I am, because when I'm with you, it's like the only time I'm not. So he was like my outlet to feeling better and feeling happy. And I remember one time I visited him at Pittsburgh when he had transferred schools, and we were having dinner, and I just like started crying, and I was like, I'm like really depressed. And it's weird because like I want you to know that, but also when I'm with you, I don't want to feel that way. So I'm like trying to be happy and be with you. But I think what he saw a lot more of was probably my body image and food insecurities. Especially I had a binge eating disorder, which is where you restrict heavily and then you binge everything back, and you just do that yo-yo cycle. And I remember when I like finally had to open up to him about that, just because we were getting closer and it felt like that was something that I wanted him to know. And I remember we were like laying in the dark, that made me feel a little safer at night, like no eye contact, can't see my facial expression, just kind of cuddling, and me kind of saying like, I don't even remember, but like I struggle with food, and like I feel really insecure sometimes, and just kind of like opening up, because I remember times we'd be on dates, and one time we were sharing like a little pint of Ben and Jerry's from the gas station, and we're watching a movie, and all I'm thinking about is like, I wish he would leave so I could just devour the whole pint. It's like I can't eat too much because I want to be cute and like, so I'm gonna have a little spoonful. Oh, I'm full from dinner. No, I'm not. I would eat 6 of these, boy, if you weren't here. So I'm like, there were moments like that where I felt like he wasn't privy to me, and I wanted to get close. So when I opened up to him, he's so supportive. He didn't really understand. He's a guy who never had body image issues or felt the body image pressure a lot of women do, but he was really supportive. I would say like that has been, if I think about a way that our relationship has grown in all the time we've been together, it's been the way that Max has learned to show up for me in the way that I need it. I used to have a time in life where I would think he's not my first phone call when I'm struggling. I don't even know if he's my second or my third, because it's like, how is someone going to beat my mom, my 2 best friends? Like, and he's a guy, but I didn't like that. I'm like, you're my partner in life. Like, I want you to be the person I call. And we had to kind of go through like, why is it this way? And of course it's like, he wants to fix, guys want to fix. They're like, oh, she's being mean. Well, then do X, Y, Z. And I'm like, no, just agree and tell me she's mean. Like, I want you to just validate. So I had to learn to communicate, hey, I just want you to listen and I want you to validate. And he had to know when it was time to offer advice and guidance and when it was time to just listen. And we've made so many great like improvements in that department. Of course, there's a million ways I've grown and changed to be better for him, but we're focusing on me today. But he, recently I had been struggling with body image again with, the rise of Ozempic and all the weight loss drugs. It is difficult. It is difficult that there now is a quote magic injection that will make you lose all this weight. That's very hard for the eating disorder girlies. So I was struggling and just feeling more insecure. And I opened up to him and I felt like he just showed up perfectly and it was beautiful. And I felt so close to him. And I talk about that on an episode of Real Pod called I've Been Struggling, where I just kind of go over like that conversation. And it was really just, I felt like he didn't judge me at all. He just listened. He really did nothing. And that's exactly what I needed.
But you know what? You said one thing that I've held on to that is perfectly said. And it's exactly what I want people to fucking hear. He learned how to support me in the ways that I need. Learned is the key fucking word here. Because I think we have this massive, and I'm so glad you shared the story because there's such a common misconception like, oh, well, I don't know if you're familiar with Julia Menino, and her Insta is The Secure Relationship. I think it's the secure partnership or the secure relationship. And we were talking about it and she's like, I said, what is something that really annoys you about what you see with all the content? And she was like, this villainizing of the avoidant and how And she was like that, we need to learn how to love each other. And I was like, that has been something that I'm so passionate about for people to get is like, you didn't meet Max where everything he did was perfect. I didn't meet Ryan, tech guy, as everyone knows him, as like, oh, he came out the gate and everything was amazing. It's like, no. But cumulatively over time, like, how did you get closer? You were vulnerable. You saw how he showed up for you. It was a safe space for you to also say, hey, here's how I'd love you to show up for me further. And then when he does it, like one thing I've learned with Ryan as well is like when the whole cease and desist thing happened, he let me crumble and he just sat next to me. And like the way he supported me, like you said, it wasn't anything spectacular. It's not like, oh, he did the X, Y, and Z. He wanted to fix. Of course, the first thing that comes in is, let me make my partner better. And he realized not to. And after the next morning, I came down to him and I said, can I share something with you? And he was like, what's up? And I said, last night was perfect. I said, how you supported me was exactly what I need. That's exactly how I need you to show up for me. And I said, did that feel sustainable for you? He was like, yeah, that was totally great for me. And I was like, perfect. Now he shows up for me in those ways because we've told them, hey, here's what I need from you. And then they do it. To me, because like, did you ever see, like, is he somebody who's just more of a secure attachment or does he have anxiety, avoidance? Like, yeah.
He's so securely attached. I actually was going to chime in by saying, here's one thing, big thing I've had to work on because I think it's important. I do think there's a lot of people who are like, okay, here are my boundaries and my needs. And I've learned all this stuff and I need people to be picture perfect for me. And it's like, no. Like you have to change and you have to work on yourself. So, he was very securely attached. And like I said, I had a toxic relationship in high school. So I was like, oh my gosh, we need to send these long text messages. Yeah. We're going to get in these stupid fights and then we're going to make up and like, we're going to have, that's what it's going to be. And he was like, what are you talking about? Like, I hurt your feelings. I'm so sorry. And I was like, what? Like, I was almost like, that's not fun. I want to fight with you. So I had to learn, Max is not responsible for regulating my emotions. Nope. If I have a bad day or I get in a fight with someone or, something doesn't go my way at work, like I can't and then I come home, this is what would happen. This probably happens with people. You have a shitty day for whatever reason. Your partner comes home and they're like, hey, and you're like, hi. And they're like, I'm just going to make dinner. Do you want anything? And you're like, no. And then they like make dinner and then they sit down and then you're like, I can't believe you like didn't like, of course I want to eat. Like you didn't make me anything, whatever. You start a fight now. This person has objectively done nothing wrong, but you're already feeling sad. You're already feeling down. That what you're doing, and we saw this on Love is Blind, is you're picking a fight to then get someone to validate you and be like, no, I care about you. Of course. Like what you're trying to do is get to this end zone of like them telling you like how much they like you and that they need you. And I think now in a mature relationship, and having done a lot of work, I would say to Max, like, hi, like just didn't have the best day. Like if I'm feeling cranky or not talkative, it doesn't have anything to do with you. I'm not in a good place.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then as a good partner, he'll probably say, oh, okay, well, babe, well, I'm here for you and I love you and you're amazing and give me a kiss. And there's the love I needed anyways. And we avoided a whole fight.
And it's so funny you say that. I've had to tell Ryan before, like we'll have something. And I remember because he's very pragmatic and practical. And so he needs to understand it. And I remember the one way I got to him was it was something very minute like that, where like I said something that hurt me and I was like, just fucking validate it. Like that's all I'm at. I just need to vent for a second and tell you that this troll on the internet hurt my goddamn feelings. things. And after like 45 minutes of like, cause it was like something happened. He got defensive and it was like, and I finally stopped him and I said, if you said what you just said to me now, 45 minutes ago, we would have saved 40 minutes. And he stopped and he was like, whoa, that it just clicked for him. And he was like, I see what you mean now. And I was like, I don't need to be right. It's not about I'm sorry or you're right. It's not about saying that. It's sometimes just, we can't fucking read people's minds, but it's also about like, I ask for what it is that I need. Like, hey, I'm really struggling right now. Can I share this with you? I just need to vent. Great. I'm telling somebody a roadmap of like, cool, just sit your fucking ass down and let me talk. But I agree with you. So often we see we're like, because it's what you're describing is like protest behavior of like, I feel a connection. I need that connection. I need someone to validate. And when we don't, so we start to do protest behavior, having the temper tantrums, having the no, fine, shutting down, dismissive, getting cold, stonewalling, whatever. Yes, anxious people do that as well. And I love that what you described was such a healthy and secure partnership and that you worked towards earned security. You didn't just come out the fucking womb like that. It can be worked towards, but like you said, you have to do no pun intended, you got to do the work in order to get there.
Yeah. And I think too, something people need to talk more about is reasonable needs, because there will also be people who are like, no, I need a text every day. I need a FaceTime every night. I need every night for us to spend an hour together. That's not a reasonable need. That is not like a reasonable request for someone. So I also like think it's important to remind people too, you can't just say, well, I need this. And then it's period, end of sentence. Like, it's okay if your partner does check yourself and say, is this reasonable? Like, this is an expectation I'm not able to meet. Like, I'm showing you I love you in all these other ways. You know, we need to meet in the middle.
This episode is brought to you by Peak. For those of you who know me, I am a matcha queen. I am obsessed with my matcha. That's what I have every morning. I alternate. I do like a tea and I'll do matcha on one day. I put all my fun lotions and potions. I put all my stuff in it. But having a high quality matcha has been really important to me. And that's why I love Peak, because I have seasonal skin issues. Like I have uneven skin tone. My skin is really dry. And the reason I love Peak is they have their Sun Goddess matcha, and it's the best matcha for skin and energy. So it's shaded for longer for more chlorophyll and antioxidants. And both of those are incredible skin ingredients that firm, brighten, and clarify the skin. There's also no more coffee crashes, anxiety, and jitters. That's again why I use matcha, specifically the Peak Sun Goddess matcha, because it just is incredible. And I don't get the jitters. I don't get the anxiety. I feel like a nice, calm, peaceful energy throughout the day. And Peak Sun Goddess matcha offers a range of benefits from gut health, sustained energy, metabolism support, and anti-aging properties, which are from that chlorophyll. I am so obsessed, and it's super convenient. So there's a reason Peak has over 1,500 5-star reviews. So try it for yourself risk-free with their 30-day satisfaction guarantee. You either love it or you get your money back. So guys, get up to 15% off on Peak's Sun Goddess matcha plus a complimentary beaker and rechargeable frother when you shop my link, peaklife.com/work. Again, PIQUELIFE.com/WORK. Oh, I mean, you know me, I'm like, that's the hill I'll die on of no. It's not a need, like, or, you know, Masha and I talk about this all the time of like boundaries being used incorrectly of like, well, my boundary is that he's not allowed to follow any women on social media. And if he does, then and it's like, that's not a boundary, that's an ultimatum, and that's control. That means that you're insecure and you're telling your partner what they can and can't do. Somebody actually asked me, I'd like to get to a couple of Insta questions that people asked. Someone asked me, what was your favorite boundary that you've set? And I was like, interesting. Okay. I'm curious to ask.
Yeah, that's a cute one. I would say the most obvious one that comes to mind is the boundary I have around food, which is basically that, you know, I've communicated with Max in order for me to feel safe having a healthy relationship with food in this relationship and around you, which is most of the time. I need to know that you're not going to judge me or make comments about what I eat. Even if we have a big dinner and I go back to the snack cabinet 6 times, even if I, you know, whatever it is, I just need to know that you're not going to judge me or make comments, because that is like a big trigger for me. And so he said, perfect, great. And he doesn't make those comments. And sometimes I will start to get in my head like, oh my God, Max probably is thinking I'm eating a lot tonight or whatever. And so then I'll say to him, I won't just let this balloon build until it explodes. I'll say, babe, this is really weird, but I don't know why I'm just super in my head that like you're looking at what I'm eating and you're thinking about it. I know you haven't been, you've done nothing wrong. I'm just letting you know that like anxious voice is rising. And he's like, oh my God, that's so funny. Like, no, of course, like I haven't thought a thing. And we reaffirm the boundary. And I think it's important too to acknowledge, like, because you could be having thoughts of like, oh, do I trust my partner? Am I worried about this? But when you bring it to them, preface it with, hey, you've done nothing wrong. This is my own insecurity and anxious voice. I'm just communicating it because I want us to be able to openly share our feelings. But how weird is it that when you went out the other night, I was nervous and jealous, and you can have like a team talk, One thing I want to say about your thing about following girls, I would just say, like, I agree, like, making rules is, we're not babysitting each other. But if you're dating someone who wants to follow 50 bikini models, is that the man's for you? It's not the man's for me. Like, so it just, I agree. Like, I'm like, you can't make rules. And then if the people are like, oh, but then he's doing it, I'm like, is that the guy you want to raise your kids? Like
100%. You're giving yourself a choice, right? It's like, it's not about you have to change. Otherwise, like, no, but you also get to choose that this doesn't work for me. Like, it's the same as like when I date like guys that worked at nightlife. I'm like, I don't drink and I don't go out past 8:00. It's not that I need you to change. It's not like, oh, well, you're no longer allowed to do that. It's like, no, this isn't a connection for me that I want to pursue because I don't want to date the guy that's going to a strip club at 2 a.m. with his friends when I'm potentially home with kids. Like, that would not work for me.
Yeah.
And so I'm with you on all of that. And I think even the boundary that you set, and I think what I want people to also really learn from this is like, it is so hot and sexy to share with your partner things that upset you. And especially like, I'll do that with Ryan. Like, he said something once, I asked him to do something. I said, like, do you want to go do this tomorrow night? And he just went, no. And like walked off. And it's like, okay, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like, and that's a trigger, right? A trigger is a neutral action or inaction that, like, to you, if someone just went no and you're like, okay, and you just go back to work. For me, all of a sudden I got wildly dysregulated. I started going in my head and I was like, see, he doesn't like you. He doesn't want to be with you. And I even stopped and I was like, can I share something with you, babe? And he was like, yeah, what's up? And I said, you did not do anything wrong here. Like, I was like, you didn't do anything wrong. I said, but when you said that, it made me feel really dysregulated. Then when I started to kind of assess, I realized, like, that reminds me of my dad. My dad was super dismissive and would go and walk off. And I was like, and it's not that you did anything wrong. I said, but moving forward, next time, could you just let me not interested? Then I'll know it's just not something that you want to do. And he was like, absolutely. Thank you for telling me. He's like, I would have no idea that bothered you if you didn't tell me. And I think so often we're in that mindset of like, I'm a child. I can't express my needs. If I tell them, then they're going to shun me. And it's like, you're not dating your parents. It's really sexy to tell a partner what's going on.
And I used to think everything needs to be solved now. I was a big sense of urgency, big fix, big want everything good all the time. And one of the things that has been amazing for me to grow, especially like in this relationship, is we don't have to solve everything now. And it's very hard for me when I feel myself dysregulated and angry or frustrated or stubborn to say the right thing or be the person I want to be. So, instead of, it can be really hard to take a deep breath and like think clearly. So I might just be like, I'm feeling like I just have so many thoughts and I think I need like some time to calm down and then let's finish it tonight. I'm going to go get our groceries. I love you, give you a kiss, and we'll talk about this when I get home. We do that a lot. And then by the time 40 minutes goes by, you come home and you're like, oh my God, I think about this so much more clearly. Like, when you're triggered or your ego's wounded, it comes like very viciously to the forefront and it doesn't allow your true higher self to speak. So I think it's also powerful to take time, sleep on it, talk about it later, and not try to solve everything in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, it's like that bullshit of like, don't go to bed angry. And it's like, well, sometimes you will. And it's okay that it doesn't need to be forced that like.
People should change that to just like, don't go to a bed without a kiss and I love you. Because like, we can be angry and I can just be like, I love you and give him a kiss. And like, we can go to bed and talk about it tomorrow because I love you. My love for you didn't change. But, you're right. Like, we might not be able to solve this if we just got in the fight at 11 and we both have to wake up early tomorrow.
Right. It's like, and when you're dysregulated, like, I love that you took space. And it's like that was huge for me as an anxious girl to learn how to go, instead of going from feeling to fucked, right? Like from, I felt this, that's it. It's all hell in a handbasket. I have to react. Now I get so often people be like, wow, you're so patient. And I'm like, that was not an adjective that would be describing me 5 years ago. And it's like, you learn the patience because if I don't have it for you, how the fuck can I have it for me? And again, it's like avoidants are not bad people for saying, hey, I need to take some space. It's like space is not a bad thing. Maybe all of us in our red-brained, oh my God, everything. It's like we need the dust to settle so I could see clearly and not start a fucking fight with my partner. That means nothing. So, okay, couple more questions I want to ask you from Insta that specifically people wanted you. Okay, so how did you find your identity post-college when you were no longer the athlete and now you were Victoria?
Yes, this is a question I get a lot from athletes because your whole life you've been the volleyball player, the basketball star, the soccer girl, and it's hard when you're not doing those things to question, okay, who am I? What makes me special? And what I love to say is, although the thing you are doing is different, you're not kicking a soccer ball, you're not hitting a volleyball, you're not showing up to practice, the person that you are and the qualities that made you amazing and successful and an incredible high performer, you still have. You still work well in a group setting. You still push yourself. You still set goals and you try to reach them. You're still ambitious and hardworking. You know, you still thrive in adversity and difficult moments. So I would just say, maybe even make a list of all the qualities and the skills that have made you a successful athlete or whatever this form or identity was, and then realize that those are things you can apply to that next thing you do in life.
I love that. And it's so true because it's like, how we always think, that's why even like when Clem died, that's when I realized like, I don't want to be anything besides myself, because when you identify with like, I'm only okay if I have this, right? Like I'm only okay if I'm a baseball player, a basketball player, whatever, right? A volleyball player. Then if you potentially lose that, and like that's a big part of the healing game as well, as being okay with like, I might lose that, right? Like it's the same. Ryan and I will have conversations all the time of like, hey, are we still good? If not, that's okay. Let's talk about like, do we want to continue our relationship or not? We're not breaking up. It's not like, oh, we're being dramatic. It's that we both are adults to go, it doesn't mean that it has to last forever. It's okay if it doesn't, but let's just be okay with the fact that that's an opportunity, that's a possibility, versus I put my entire fucking identity into something and then I've lost myself when I don't have it anymore. So, okay, last question. What do you consider as the most important experience you've had to gain self-confidence?
I would say it was probably the moment that I changed everything about my social media. And this was one of those divine times where it was like, I can't snap. Max always makes fun of me. It doesn't come out. But it was one of those moments where I had a total flip in my life. And it was, you know, I had done years of face tuning my body and making my waist smaller and my skin smoother, my teeth whiter and my butt bigger, all those things. And long story short, I was on a vacation taking a bikini photo and I was about to post it, and it was my older brother. And he said, "Why do you want to post that?" And I said, you know, what do you mean? Because it's a good picture. And he's like, "No, but why do you want to post it?" And I thought for a little bit and then said, because it's going to get lots of likes and comments. It's a good pic. And he said, "Why do you want lots of likes and comments?" Right. And he really made me sit there. And I was like, because it makes me feel good. And it was like the quickest, most impromptu therapy session I'd ever had about, wow, I'm seeking so much validation based on image. This is why I'm so insecure. And literally the next day I posted a no filter photo of my yaya. I'm Greek, this is my grandma. And I used the hashtag real post. And that was the start of my authentic, candid online social media presence. I still do hashtag real post today. I posted one over 4th of July about having lots of social anxiety. And yeah, that was a big moment in my self-confidence journey of, hey, like, stop doing all this fake stuff to get people to like you and tell you you're pretty and all these things when you're actually just so insecure. And then the next day I had so much confidence to change that. And I've literally kept it going ever since. It's been, I don't know how many years.
No, actually, it's so funny. I have something similar. A friend of mine, I was posting all these photos and she was like, "What are you posting those for?" And I was like, and she was like, "I challenge you this. Post something when you have something to say." And it was like a year where I would not, unless I had something I authentically wanted to share, then I wouldn't post. And I was like, man, it was such a nice change, because you're like, wow, it got me out of the dopamine seeking reward brain and went into the like, how can I step into me part? It's such a, like, I love that.
And look at you now. I'm sure that friends you have so much that you say and you help people and that you talk about. And it's like, can we even think about the times we posted something that like didn't have substance or value? Like, I can't. But then it's hard. You go the other way and I'm like, what if I just want to post like the farmer's market? Like, can I do that?
You're like, can I just have, and sometimes I'll be like, sometimes you just need to take a break, and that's the post. And you're like, but that's okay, because it's like, it's authentic and it's real, which is why I love you and your content so fucking much, is because you are about, let's show the authenticity. Let's show who we really are. Because at the end of the day, when I lift the veil, you're going to see it. It's not like it's going to be a surprise. So, dude, thank you so much for being on and sharing so much wisdom, so much vulnerability. It's such a refreshing conversation. And I'm just so grateful to have you part of the family now.
Thanks so much, Sabrina. It was an honor to be here. And thanks to everyone for listening to this episode. I so appreciate it. I hope they check out you on Real Pod. We had so much fun. And yeah, it was an honor. So thanks, babe.
Of course. And where can people find you? It'll be in the show notes, but plug it a little bit.
Yes. They can find me on Instagram and TikTok, just at Victoria Browne. And then my podcast is called Real Pod. And the Sabrina was on recently, so you can find that. And then the episode I talked about Max and I's big body image conversation is titled, I've Been Struggling. Very dramatic.
I love it. Everything will be linked, so nobody will have to find too far. But go check out Victoria. Go check out The Real Pod. And keep fucking doing what you're doing, dude. Thank you again so much.
Thank you.